So we're going to start, and this is going to be, I forget, this is either episode 3 or 4 in the whole list of things. I knew the first 2. I think you're 4. I think we're going to say, I'm going to do it twice, and then I'll edit it together later. Hi, so this is episode 3 of Not a Genre. Hey, this is episode 4 of Not a Genre. We got that covered. This is Mel Rainsberger. This week we are talking about kind of not a movie because, surprise, you can't actually rent or buy it digitally. So a few episodes from Cowboy Bebop, and then the first movie of the Guardians of the Galaxy, hopefully series.
Duology
right now. Maybe trilogy, maybe like sextology? Septology? Also, like, I'm trying to think of the really high. Like higher numbers, like 6 and 7 and 8.
I hope not, dude.
Oh, I like the second one.
I haven't seen the second one. I really want to, actually.
And I'm here with Ciaran McDonough, and then he gets to introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Ciaran McDonough, award-winning filmmaker and actor. I will be attending film school next year to pursue my dream of making a kung fu western and a monster movie. What were the other questions?
Oh, I'm going to ask those.
I'm tall. I'm not good at basketball. I have a dent in my chest.
I have a crest on my head. Like a crest that goes like that.
There's a bump on the back of my head that annoys the shit out of me because it's a little bit to the left of the center of my skull. So if I'm resting my head up against a board, like a headboard for a bed, it leans slightly to one side. Like,
I can't wear hats.
Even.
I can't wear like hard helmet hats because my head is like basically like that. Like where I wear bike helmets, there's a lot of space on the side. It's very like awkward. It's great. I'm going to die someday.
We all are.
So the first question I'm going to ask you is, what is the first animated movie you remember seeing?
I'm going to go with John the Fearless.
I don't actually know this one.
This is a Dutch. I have it on VHS still, and I really want to watch it, but my VCR doesn't work. It was a dub of a Dutch movie. It's like Jan Zondervries or something. And it's about a dude who looks like He-Man, and from what I remember, he kicks everybody's ass, and then he accidentally kills his cousin who dresses up as a ghost to try to scare him. He like bludgeons him against a tree and is forced to run away. He meets some wuss dude and then has to kill some villain. Like, a lot of shit happens that I don't remember.
Where did you get this?
I don't remember at all.
Mysterious
I've seen
VHS
it a
tape.
lot. And then he has to fight this guy called like the Cluda or something. He was scary too. He that scene I think is actually pretty cool looking and scary. It's a cool monster design, antlers and fur and skulls and red eyes. And
you can't find it on like just YouTube?
It's only in Dutch that I've seen. So I mean, I bet if I did more digging I could find it. But there's that. And then the other thing is that he said, I will only marry a woman who can scare me. And so they meet this woman. Obviously, there's like the dame that he meets. And because it's a European fantasy movie from like the long time ago.
I feel like this sounds like
70s or 80s.
I was going to say, it sounds like 70s. It sounds like weird 70s.
And I remember that she says like, "Oh, I'll have to return home now," or something really innocuous. And John the Fearless, who has gone on record saying, "I'll only marry a woman who can scare me," says, "Oh, just the thought of that gives me a heart attack." And then his wussy friend laughs his ass off. He's like, "Ha ha, John, now you have to marry her." And then he proposes, just on the spot, just proposes, and then it ends.
Good.
So that was the first animated movie I remember seeing. I feel like I saw that the youngest.
Yay. What's the last animated movie you've seen? Like, the most current? And it doesn't have to be a current movie, it's just the one you saw most recently.
Oh my God. Your Name.
Yeah, I've heard that's really good.
Fucking great. I saw that twice. I saw it on an airplane with Shin Godzilla. I would be remiss not to mention Shin Godzilla while I have something of a captive audience, because that's fucking awesome. I was going to say something Big Hero 6 because I couldn't really remember, but I remember I was on a plane and then they had Your Name, so I watched that, and I don't remember if it was my dad sitting in front of me or a stranger, but it's so intense and so good. I also love supernatural love stories. One of my favorite movies.
I didn't know it was that. No, I don't care about spoilers, though.
Yeah, it's. I mean, that much I think I can get into safely. The rest is. I don't think you want to go into it knowing anything else, but it's a supernatural love story about a boy and a girl. The girl lives in rural Japan, in a rural Japanese town, and the boy lives in Tokyo. And when they fall asleep, they switch bodies, or like sometimes they switch bodies, sometimes they don't. And they get into wacky hijinks and start learning about each other's lives. And there's also some really cool kind of...
This sounds like a short story I've read that actually got turned into an episode of Masters of Horror on Showtime. I think the title of that was Jennifer, and it was way creepier because it was a horror story. I think the guy that... This is all a lot of triangulation. The guy that played Elliot in E.T. is in it. I don't remember that actor's name, but I'm pretty sure that's the guy. And basically, he can see through the eyes of a woman, and he ends up like falling in love with her, and then I think killing her because he becomes obsessed with her. But there's this... The short story was like a little less creepy, even though it was still a horror short story. It was less like obsessively weird. But yeah, about like a man that could experience life as a woman. But I think it's like he had to eat chocolate or something. It was very strange.
Yeah, this isn't like that really. There's not a really creepy angle. It's not really about experiencing life as a woman or as a man. It's just something that kind of happens. It's this weird fate, supernaturally stuff going on, and I guess it plays a lot with gender roles, which is fun. You can see over the course of the movie how the different characters present themselves, where I think Mitsuha is the girl's name, and she starts off running very like Velma and Scooby-Doo is how I can imagine it.
That's awesome.
But then towards the end of the movie, she spent more time in a guy's body and then inhabiting a guy's role or place in society, and starts running with more of like a masculine kind of gait. So, I mean, that's such a ridiculous thing to say, obviously, but less like Velma and more like Fred, I'm going to say.
Oh, I was going to say, or Shaggy. Shaggy's got a weird run, though.
Yeah, no, Shaggy looks like, I had a reference, but I totally, like Hakeem Abdul from Cowboy Bebop, who's absolutely named after Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. The references in that show are so easy, by the way. But yeah, that's the last animated movie I saw.
Cool. I'm not gonna. I don't say what I've watched. I just ask people because I'm curious, like what more there is out there. Because eventually we're gonna run out of my childhood hits. Right? We're gonna run out.
Just keep watching The Last Unicorn.
But I also want to do Unico.
Oh, I haven't even seen that one yet.
Oh, Unico's so good. You need to watch both of them. So the sequel is way creepier than the first movie. And the first movie has like a rape demon. So the second movie is like...
I remember you told me to watch that after we watched Legend, which was a hit.
Yeah.
Even though I showed it to my friends and there were mixed reactions.
So I was talking about this with Raz, going on a tangent about unicorns. I said this about The Last Unicorn, but I was echoing something you said about Legend, which is that I was like, okay, this happened a long time ago. There's clearly even better stuff we've made since then. Like, this got made. So there's
nothing better.
There's nothing.
Legend.
It just, they didn't, like, continue on with that. And so that's, like, it's one lone, like, really cool, sad unicorn movie, like, slightly anime-esque. And you're like, oh, damn it, with Music by America. And he goes, yeah, and when I was in college and I, like, try to explain to my friends they might like this, they see the fucking cover and they're just like, that is a girl's movie and it is a bad one and I don't want to see it. So he stopped showing them the cover and he's like, you see, because Lord of the Rings hadn't come out yet.
Yeah.
The live action. And so he's like, you've seen the animated Lord of the Rings, right? It's by the same people.
That might be my first one, actually, is The Hobbit.
Oh.
I love The Hobbit.
The Hobbit's really good, too.
I love that movie.
I like the animated movie a lot. I mean, the live action one's bad, but I really like... I got to 2 on the live action Hobbit only because I liked that part of the book so much I had to see it.
Yeah.
but it was crap.
Doesn't it end with the spiders? The first movie ends right before they get to
The mountain.
Mirkwood Forest, or where the spiders are involved. Because I remember that.
Maybe. I can't even remember. But I remember it's like almost like a bad Bechdel test. The Hobbit rarely speaks in the first movie. He's like a non-character. And it's like, this is just terrible. It's all terrible. The dwarves go into the mountain after Bilbo in the live action movie, and there's this whole like chase scene down a river of liquid gold. It's so
Sounds fucking stupid.
Like the whole point of this is that only Bilbo can do certain things. And what they do in the second movie is like, oh no, the dwarves can totally go in and do stuff too. And it was like, that was the whole point, is that he goes in and he burgles because he's the guy that they got to do that. But if they go after him and go in, then what was the fucking point of having him there at all?
Oh, also the Goblin song. I did hear the Goblin song because that's my favorite song from the animated movie. Who was that? Rankin Bass.
Yeah, Rankin Bass did all that stuff.
Yeah, because the Goblin song in the animated one is awesome because Rankin Bass had a lot of those like really bassy dudes going on.
He got folk music people to do it, like good folk music, like much like The Last Unicorn, like
Had
folk
folk
band.
music like America.
Yeah, it was like really great music. But I was gonna say, so what he did, Raz started doing, was just not showing his friends the cover and being like, we're gonna watch a movie by the same studio that did the animated Lord of the Rings.
That shouldn't be a selling point either.
Well, he got them to watch the unicorn movie, The Last Unicorn, and they liked it, and then they saw the cover and they were like, yeah, I wouldn't have watched that otherwise. So he won in a good way. He got people to watch the sad unicorn movie. We talked way too much about feminism on that one because it was
I feel
interesting.
like that's kind of a solid thing to talk about when you're talking about The Last Unicorn.
And Fury Road.
Oh, yeah, naturally.
So what I hit upon might be a really interesting thing in general to talk about, and we'll sort of start at the beginning of the movie and then go through sort of both, how they kind of like interweave. But one thing that when I was watching that really stood out is how much... So, to go backwards a little bit, the reason I picked these two movies is that they're both space operas, or movies entities, space operas with really, really strong musical cues. But for Cowboy Bebop, because it's an entire show and it's a lot longer than the movie, I decided we'd focus on the first, third, and ninth episodes, which is where the main characters come in. So rather than sort of trying to talk about, like 30 episodes altogether, there's like too much there. Whereas Guardians of the Galaxy is a 2-hour movie. It's really hard to commit.
It's a long movie. It doesn't feel like it, though.
No, it doesn't.
I was surprised by how well it is written.
Yeah. I was rewatching it, and there's parts of it that I'm like, that's very silly.
Yeah.
And you're like, it did not come across as that silly. Like, he basically laughs like Bugs Bunny when he's getting away with the orb the first time. Like, if you watch, he's like, ha, 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 ha. And I'm like, how did I miss how stupid that is?
I didn't like it the first time I saw it. I don't know. It's not that I didn't like it. It wasn't memorable to me. And I could not remember anything that happened at all. I didn't really like it. I didn't get all the buzz. But I also saw it when it came out, when everybody's like, this movie is just the shit. It's the best thing to happen since Star Wars, and I just did not get
It's kind of like Star Wars meets Fifth Element, though. So, yeah. So, we're really just focusing on 3 episodes, and then the first Guardians of the Galaxy, and not the second one. But as I was watching the two of them, the thing that really struck me is how, while they have these very strong superficial elements, it seemed like, in a way, Guardians of the Galaxy, being the live-action movie, had a simpler theme about just family, and I didn't get that family was a part of Cowboy Bebop. They never operate as a family. It's almost like roommates.
Yeah, I like that a lot, though. I mean, when...
No, not that's a bad thing, but I was like trying to see if I could find some like greater similarity, and that struck me. I was like, no, it's like a bunch of college, like after college roommates, all trying to get along.
Spike says right after they are forced to pick up Edward, he's like, I hate kids, women, and dogs, and we have all 3 on the ship, and the only one he wants to hang out with is Jet, who's basically just his mom.
Jet's like his mom / the person that originally got the apartment and then like lost their job, or like isn't making so much money, so they had to bring in their, like, Jet's like the person that like after college got their own apartment, realized they couldn't afford it, and brought in the least scuzzy of the people they knew in college, and that's Spike. Like, I guess I'll bring you in. Like, you're not gonna like pee on everything, and you'll only have to do the dishes. So that's
like
cool.
Jet has more affection for Spike than that. I like Jet a lot as just kind of like a sort of, like the gentle giant kind of character. He's shown a lot. He cooks for them. He's shown a lot doing very
motherly things.
Motherly, but also like he's like tending to bonsai trees, which is like very nurturing
and it's his ship. I mean, that's usually how he describes it. It's like his. Yeah. Like he figures out the missions. Like Spike joins in or not. Like with the Edward one, it's like Spike at first is like, no, thank you. The hackers are boring, which they are. Hackers are totally boring. They can be boring storylines.
Have you seen the movie Hackers?
Yes, but that's ridiculous. It's good in a bad way.
Awesome. I love that movie.
But yeah, Spike is more like a tenant than like a partner. And like they are partners, but that's not how Spike sees it.
That's how I see it.
Yeah, that's how we see it.
Romantic partners.
That's fine. Oh, those images are on the internet.
Oh yeah.
And when I was writing my notes, I was like, Edward is clearly that person that you're kind of friends with that thinks they're better friends with you than you think you are with them. Because I had forgotten that Edward had researched them.
Yeah.
That she had like found out who they were ahead of time and like fell in love with them and been like, I want to be friends with you.
I feel like Ed more just likes them, at least at the beginning, just because they're adventurous and obviously super cool. Definitely the character.
Yeah, but it's like that nerd kid in high school that's like, I'm gonna be friends with the cool kids.
Oh yeah, I had to deal with that all the time, being such a cool guy.
I was not that person.
I wasn't either. But also, I think Earth sucks, so I think that Ed just saw them as the best way to get off.
Ed lived underground. I mean, like, Earth sucked. Ed lived underground. I mean, because they say that like Earth constantly gets bombarded by rocks.
I think it's neat how, because when they went to Tijuana in the first episode, they call it Tijuana.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, but where are they? I guess I missed that they went to that ring satellite, because when they're there, I was watching it and the world folded upwards. I'm like, where the fuck are they? This is not Tijuana.
No.
But
there's never like a clear. It's not the way Guardians of the Galaxy is. Like, now you are here. Now you are at this new place.
Why doesn't Peter Quill ever just go back to Earth?
I don't know. Probably because he doesn't want to know like his grandfather died and like how shitty it is.
That's fair.
He's constantly like running away from things. Like Verit, the pink girl that's in his like hold.
Oh,
he's like, I thought I left you. Like he's not one to like maintain a relationship.
Maybe we should get into this later, because right at the end of the movie, it brings up a lot of weird Oedipal shit.
Yeah.
Where Gamora is like, take my hand. And he flashes back to his mom being like, take my hand, Peter.
Yeah.
And then he just he's like, Mom, and starts crying. He's like, you want to fuck that so bad? And now you're conflating her with your own dead mom.
Nope.
And he...
Yeah. And one thing I wrote down, like, consistently, and I keep telling my friends this, I really believe this. Faye Valentine is not Gamora. I think Gamora is more like Jet. Like, she takes care of them and sort of like... And they're probably working towards a romantic relationship with her and Peter Quill. But that's not the way that's not her role as much. Like, her role is what Jet's role is. To, like, make sure they're on track, staying together, being taken care of, that they're working to their best ability. And Faye Valentine is way more Rocket. Like, this chaotic character that constantly argues with the main character. And
Faye Valentine's awesome.
And helps, but also screws stuff up in equal measures. Mm-hmm. I and Groot are just them.
Groot is Jet.
Maybe, a little bit.
And they have that same gentle giant charisma, which Groot only accomplishes, I think, because Vin Diesel is just this bizarre, like, anti-charisma machine. But, like, he's so uncharismatic that he is just rocketed to being just the most charismatic person I can think of.
We were talking on another one about how I'd love to see just a Superman movie where he's Superman and he's like a weird alien Superman, not like a normal guy.
Weird alien dude.
like showing Superman as an actual more alien, like personality wise, like just not somebody you can click in with.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like also Vin Diesel was like, oh, I'm recording every single I am Groot. I want
In other languages.
And in other languages. That pisses me off. His Chinese was subpar. But his scenes, similar to The Iron Giant, which was also my other what movie has made you cry
Yes.
answer. It's either that or Your Name. But just character that you can relate to, but is alien either because they're a tree or because they're a massive robot. With that heart of gold, who seems really profound. Groot and just Vin Diesel by extension, I feel like understands the.
Well, that's Gamora too. Like, oh, you think she's an assassin? You think she's a bad person? You find out like she's a good person.
Yeah, no,
She's
Groot
just
though.
awkward.
There's never any doubt that he's just operating on a higher level than every other living thing.
Well, that's why I think he's just Ein. Like, I always think Ein knows a little more than what's going on.
Yeah, I love
The
Ein.
the dog is like secretly super smart and is like, I'm just not going to talk to you guys. You're so dumb. You're beneath me. Fine.
Groot doesn't think anyone's beneath him though.
No, but I
like-
think Ein does.
Yeah, I like that Ein hangs out with Ed a lot because Ed. I think Ed's difficulty getting along with other humans can translate maybe to her getting along with Ein really well, but also Ed and Ein are easily the most intelligent members of that crew.
Yeah. Faye Valentine never exhibits that. She's like it's not emotional intelligence. What's it called? It's like street smarts, but there's an actual word for it. But I think she has like situational intelligence, like a way of getting out of bad situations. But she's not like technically knowledgeable. She's not like a really good pilot or anything. She's a
solid pilot.
She's solid, but I'm saying there's no like extraordinary like ability in those regards.
Yeah, she's just. She's tough. She's street smart, and I don't know. She can get herself out of situations, and very similar to Spike, she never takes responsibility for fucking up or like accepts that the danger that she got herself in was.
Well, that's like Rocket. Rocket's
Yeah.
like, I've got this thing that can blow up a moon. Why would you keep that in a box? And he's like, Don't you think that's dangerous? That thing you've invented? Not really. Not at all. Don't care.
I don't think Peter Quill is Spike though. I don't think that. Just for the sake of comparing the
Yeah,
one to
they
the
just
other.
they're at least while they might not be similar personality wise, they are in the same like hierarchy.
Yeah, fly by the seat of your pants, Western hero.
They're sort of the main character, but ultimately they don't do as much as all the other characters. They do a lot, but not like everybody else has a more specialized skill set they're bringing in. And Spike doesn't force family on everybody the way Peter's like, you are all my family now.
I just seeing the trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy 2, the nerve for them to cop the Furious 7 trailer line where Vinny's like, I don't got friends, I got family.
Yeah.
And then they copped that in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. It's like, you think you can get away with that? Especially when, sorry to every single person on the planet, Fast and Furious is far superior to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's not even a question.
We're not going to debate that one right now, but
is there an Initial D anime? We're going to talk about that in Fast and Furious one day.
Initial D?
It's just I think it's a manga, but I don't know if it's also an anime. It's a drifting, street racing entity.
Oh, and that was part of it. And I was writing down my notes and I was like, essentially, and this is the brilliance of Guardians of the Galaxy, that it's not just like a space opera with people, but that they have their own little unique spin on even the Guardians of the Galaxy universe, which is that they're kind of rednecks in space. Like, Yondu's definitely a redneck,
Oh, yeah.
as is Peter Quill. It's shown by that from, like, him coming from his grandfather and all those people. The sort of very Kurt Russell-y background that they explore in the second movie.
I really want to see that just for Kurt. I love Kurt
There's
Russell.
so much making fun of Kurt Russell's hair in the 80s. There's like a lot of like just subtle nods to how feathery his hair was.
It was awesome. He looks so cool in everything he's in. Kurt Russell's like, he's sexy.
I firmly believe that that Kurt Russell exists in the Guardians of the Galaxy universe, and that the alien chose to look like him to get laid. Like, that he, specifically, that it's not a coincidence and there's no Kurt Russell. That they are like...
Oh, yeah, that's because Kurt Russell would have to exist in Earth on the 80s, pop culture-wise.
Yeah. I think he does, though. I'm saying he
No,
didn't
I
just
know.
make a face that happens to look like Kurt Russell, and there's no Kurt Russell in that universe. I think there's a Kurt Russell in that universe.
It's Kurt Russell, and Peter Quill's dad saw that and was
Yeah.
like, I don't look like this guy.
This guy's cool.
He is cool. I mean, not to just get too off topic, but in Big Trouble in Little China, he plays a complete loser, and he's still super cool.
Yeah.
The entire point is that he sucks.
Yeah,
That
he's not good at anything.
He's just super idiotic and has this. He has these delusions of grandeur about how he's the savior of whatever situation he's in, that he's a cowboy, and he's just stupid and sucks at everything, and he's still a badass in that.
But going to that redneck theme, I mean, I'm not trying to undermine people that are from the South, but there is an idea that rednecks are family, that they come from a family. And then Cowboy Bebop is cowboys. And there's not usually in cowboy stories a family. I mean, there's like ranchers and stuff, but when you think about a cowboy, it's not about them trying to form a family.
Yeah, you think of Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, they ride around on horses and shoot shit and
be cool.
And so there's just by having those sort of two themes, you get this like totally different focus. Because on the surface, they're both kind of bounty hunters. You know, they fly around in spaceships and fulfill their bounties, and they don't give a shit about anybody in their world. But because they've put this redneck veneer on it, you've got like, oh, this is secretly about family. And when you say cowboys, it's like all about being hard ass cool loner people.
Yeah, which is why I appreciate Jet being in that, is because he's not like that. I don't know. I mean, again, it's been a while since I've seen the entire series front to back, but I feel like it is revealed that there's more, especially with Faye Valentine.
Oh, yeah. But I'm saying, like, on the surface,
Yeah.
much like Rocket, there's a lot that we know has happened to Rocket, but we never see those things. Although I always love his, like, everybody's got dead people line. Like, whatever. And that's probably more the way Cowboy Bebop operates. Like, everybody's got a dark and horrible past. And they're not trying to, like, rectify it the same way the Guardians are.
Yeah.
Like, it's assumed that, like, Jet was in a really bad battle or war. You know, Faye's had a hard life. Spike's lost somebody. Edward's probably had a terrible family life.
Edward doesn't seem to have a family and lived on Earth, which underground.
Yeah, Ed has got
Ed
some
had a
problems.
terrible, lonely life.
I don't think Ed realizes how lonely their life was.
I know.
But they don't act on those things. They
Yeah.
don't like go, because this happened to me, I've got to do something. Like Drax is like, my wife and child were killed. I have to do this. Nebula is like, my dad that kidnapped me is an asshole. I have to kill him.
I mean, also, Cowboy Bebop isn't a Marvel movie. They're not trying to wrap everything up and make it like, how can we appeal to the most people at once in 2 hours? And
Revenge is apparently very appealing.
well, yeah, I feel like because you take everybody's got dead people, and everybody does, but who wouldn't want to be like, take the exact thing that either whether it killed somebody or whether it's something that wronged you, take that exact thing that you hold on to that just like pisses you off and defines who you are in a certain way, and just tell it to fuck off and just beat it, you know?
Yeah, and get rid of it. Like, Drax calls up Ronan and is just like, I am going to confront you. And it's bad. Like, he is not winning that battle at all. I was rewatching it and I was like, I remembered he called him up, but I forgot how bad he was at fighting.
I liked that kind of reversal where he calls him up, he confronts this guy, and he's like, okay, whatever, and just kicks his ass without even trying.
Yeah. I am, especially in the second one, but even in this one, Drax is like either you're a little too old dad or your grandpa who's not senile but definitely tells really terrible dad jokes, doesn't understand the context of what's going on around him, so says like off-color remarks, or like, you know, instead of just saying like, oh, what's your friend's name? Like the one that starts with a D, he'll go like, oh, you know, your gay friend. And you're like, can you not describe my friends in like these very like singular terms? This is upsetting. He just says whatever he's got on his brain and always acts like he's having fun. Like the person that always acts like they're having fun on a vacation when everybody else is miserable. And you're like, I hate you. I know you're not having fun, but you act like you're having fun. And that pisses me off. But I can imagine him in like a fisher's cap being like, yeah, there are no fish.
No shirt, though.
No shirt. Still no shirt. Yeah, no, I know there's no fish, but aren't we having fun as a family? And you're like, no, we're not.
Isn't there a scene where they're prepping for the final battle and he's holding two different shirts and just throws them both to the ground?
I think it's a shirt and pants. Okay. Like he's changing and he's got like the full outfit and he like throws the shirt away. Okay. I just watched it today and I think it's that he has like the pants and the top and he's like no top.
I liked that. It's a lot funnier than I remember, which like weird because that's its entire reputation is that it's funny and charming, but it is like really funny. Yeah, and Dave Bautista is really good. I think he's the best. He's awesome.
Like they shoot a guy and he goes, ow, my neck, and they shoot him again. Like I was like, that's mean. It's a joke, but it's mean, and it's also like they didn't even have to throw it in there. They didn't have to put it there. Yeah. But they just needed this little like extra funny piece. As they're trying to escape the prison, they like shoot a guy to get him out of the way, and he goes, ow, my neck. The
leg joke.
Yeah, the leg joke. And Rocket's constantly obsessed with people's prosthetics. I know. Because he does it with the eye.
Yeah, and I kind of like that, because he himself is kind of an augmented cyborg character, and so him being obsessed with other people's prosthetics is kind of neat. And also making him a raccoon, I don't know Guardians of the Galaxy comics at all, so I don't know if he's always been a raccoon, but it's a stroke of genius to have the kind of creepy, fidgety inventor character, super smart, but also can just turn all these random bits of junk into super weapons or super technology. That being a raccoon is just such a good...
And I think we all have like a warm feeling to raccoons, even though we know they're terrible.
No, they're not terrible. I love them.
They eat trash.
So what? We do too.
Somebody told me, and this could be wrong, we're allergic to their poop. Like it's like toxic to us. Like the way like cats can have a thing that like changes your brain so you like cats. It's totally a real thing, right?
Yeah, that's.
But like
creepy.
With raccoon poop, it's like actually toxic to us. And I was like, what? And they have those little hands, those little cute hands that do so many things.
I don't know. I have a soft spot for rodents, though. Are raccoons
They're
rodents?
really cute, but I'm just saying, we kind of know they're not. They don't have fond wishes towards us. They're gonna eat all our food, steal our shit, rob our graves. Much like Rocket, he would just... If the rest of the Guardians died, he would just take the ship, all their stuff.
He'd feel bad, but then he'd do it.
Yeah, their money.
He'd be sad. I mean,
Groot would make him bury them. Give them like a funeral.
That's true.
Groot would totally do that. But yeah, there's all this implied, like, Rocket has terrible backstory, but we never...
Yeah, and I'm fine with that, because I don't need to explore every one of those characters' backstories, because we hardly know why the villain exists.
Oh, and that was one of the things I wrote down. Both have terrible villains.
Yeah, I can't...
Like, Cowboy Bebop doesn't even really have villains so much. I mean, they have problems that occur and people they battle, but they're never like this one big guy.
Yeah, I mean, there's Vicious, and he wronged Spike, but I honestly cannot remember what...
It's more situations are difficult, and there's, like, individual people in that situation that they have to get past, but there's not like a mob boss they're constantly having to pay money to. There's no, like...
They do mention, like, the Syndicate.
Kind of.
And that's,
yeah.
like...
There's no Nova Corps. There's no, like, Federation of Planet shit.
Yeah.
Which I was trying to figure out if that was, like, an American thing. Because, like, Star Trek has the Federation... I think it's the Federation of Planets or something like that.
I've never seen a single Star Trek thing. Which I told George Takei to his face. I was like, I've never seen Star Trek.
You are horrible.
But...
Did he say, oh my?
He said, well, I gave him Rodan, which is a Godzilla spin-off from 1956, Toho's first color movie. And I gave it to him because he did the dubs for it early on in his career. And I said, look, I've never seen Star Trek. I've never seen any Star Trek, but I am a huge monster movie fan. And he sees Rodan. He's like, oh my, you're a historian, aren't you? And I'm like, yes, I am, George Takei.
So Star Trek has like a government of...
Yeah, so does Metroid.
Yeah. And even, Star Wars does. And then I was trying to think if there was any like Japanese or Asian space things that had that.
Metroid is the only one I can think of.
Yeah. Because there really isn't... There are cops and like space cops in Cowboy Bebop, but not really. They're never like a big problem or some...
Also, especially in the first one, I was never sure if in the first episode with Asimov, another stupid fucking reference. It's like, do you really expect that to go over people's heads? And I wonder if that's the kind of thing, because I saw a movie called Stacy where it was a zombie movie, really great. where they had the Romero Task Force or the Bruce Willis's Right Hand 2, which was the chainsaw that they used. And I'm like, are these references that watching them as an American, since they're referencing our stuff, it's like...
Oh yeah, most likely. Like, I really like the Hellsing series, all of it, like the manga.
Oh yeah.
I like the first anime a lot better because it also has excellent music. It's on Hulu too, but the first one has amazing music. They changed some of it and it's terrible, but the music's great. And the name of the vampire is Alucard.
Yeah.
And it's like, I think it's enough of a translation in the language that they don't see the reference because they're seeing different letters.
Yeah.
So they're just doing it phonetically. So it totally works for them.
It also happens in Castlevania. So I wonder if that's just a goof.
Like, you don't say zombie in zombie movies?
Oh, well, I mean, because in Castlevania they fight Dracula, but then Alucard is like Dracula's son or something and is a main character. And Alucard was the pseudonym that Dracula used in The Batman versus Dracula, which is a great scene because he shows up to Bruce Wayne's party and says, "Oh, I'm Alucard," and Bruce Wayne's like, So he steals a tray from a waiter at like the waitstaff at the party, like pulls all the shit off of it and takes a tray from one of the waiters, steals lipstick from a woman, writes Alucard on the tray, and then stands in front of a mirror to determine that it means that it's just Dracula
That's
backwards.
when you know Batman is no longer smart. Like,
It's like he's the world's greatest detective. He should hear Alucard go, okay, and figure it out. It's such a ridiculous scene.
Just like sigh internally, like Dracula is no smarter than like a 14-year-old writing fan fiction, you know? Like, sigh. This isn't gonna be easy.
Oh, it's gonna be extremely easy if the best Dracula can come up with to disguise his identity as his name backwards. But yeah. But neither here nor there.
But I assume on these things that because it's phonetic, most likely, you know what I mean, that it is obscured enough that we don't know, you know.
Yeah.
Like you could do something with Tetsuo here from
Yeah, that's
Akira.
true. That's kind of what I was wondering, because all these references to Western writers or celebrities, I definitely thought the Kareem Abdul-Jabbar one was neat because he was built and moves just like he does in whatever the fuck Bruce Lee movie where he fights him.
I don't know these that well.
He fights Bruce Lee in, I don't know, just look it up afterwards on Wikipedia and then just go into Audacity, make your voice deeper and just edit that in so it looks like I know what I'm talking about. But he's freaking huge. He moves like a spider. So I really like, because he plays this like blind guy, sensitive son, who's just flailing his limbs around. So I kind of liked that they translated that to Cowboy Bebop. Or I could be off base and that's not at all the inspiration. It's just a coincidence.
It could be a coincidence, but unlikely. I mean, it's you know, their own little like fanboy moments, and I think that's a lot of filmmaking in general. Is how can I reference the things I love? Like, how can I put in this thing I know?
We already talked about this. I hate it. I hate it. And I'm definitely guilty of it. But I hate it.
You referenced Short Circuit 2 once in a film. And I remember you telling this story and all your friends were like, we do not know what this is.
They weren't like that. It was 10 at night on the day of filming. I'm telling this to everybody else, too. And I had been referencing Short Circuit 2 multiple times as a point of reference. It's like, oh yeah, this scene is gonna be like Short Circuit 2, this moment in Short Circuit 2, and I was convinced this was like E.T., which by the way I've never seen. I was convinced that Short Circuit 2 was just a beloved children's classic that everyone has seen it, and then 10 o'clock at night, the only day of filming for the 48-hour film fest,
just go look it up. Continue.
Look it up. The actors are like, I have no idea what you're talking about. I've never seen Short Circuit 2.
Everybody should see this movie,
Yeah,
though. It's ridiculous.
Great, and probably hasn't aged well because Fisher Stevens, star of Super Mario Brothers,
is he in that?
he played Iggy and or Spike. He played the Koopa, one of the Koopa guys.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I was like, he's not King Koopa.
No, that's
Yeah, I was
Dennis
like...
Hopper.
Yeah, I was like, that's
That
Dennis
movie's
Hopper.
fucking awesome. I want to watch that. Can we not talk about Guardians of the Galaxy and talk about Mario Brothers?
We'll find a way to work Mario Brothers in. Only if we can compare it to a really serious animated film. Because that would be funny.
Let's do Ghost in the Shell and then like Mario
Well,
Brothers.
right now I'm doing Ghost in the Shell and just Ghost in the Shell with Thursday's husband, which would be a really interesting conversation because he basically is the smartest programmer I know. No, but there's got to be some, like a Brothers movie that would go with...
Grave of the Fireflies?
No, that's too dark. Somebody gave me something for Grave of the Fireflies. But something about brothers or siblings.
There's probably not a whole lot of animated movies about brothers.
Oh, there probably is.
I know.
I feel like if you go to anime, there's a lot more like just a story, but it happens to be animated.
Yeah.
Like less crazy stuff.
No, we'll talk about Mario Brothers because Mario Brothers they're kind of brothers, but also it's pretty nebulous because Bob Hoskins is like 20 years older than John.
And British. And John Leguizamo is Puerto Rican.
I love that movie so freaking much.
I think the backstory to the live action movie is that Bob Hoskins was a real plumber, and he went into a place to prepare it, and he found an abandoned baby, and he just claims he's that guy's brother, and doesn't explain it at all. You've seen Cinema Sins. The Cinema Sins for that one is the best.
I refuse.
It's so good. I love it.
There's no sins in that movie.
Cinema Sins is great, if anybody's listening still. For when you don't want to watch a movie because you know it's kind of bad, but you want to know what happened in it, it takes you about 20 minutes. You have a concrete reason to never watch it, and you know what happened, which makes you feel kind of okay about it.
Yeah, the only problem here is that Mario Brothers is amazing.
Yeah, but I did that with the third X-Men movie, like the
I haven't seen
not First Class, but Age of Apocalypse or whatever.
What are we talking about?
I don't know. I'll get us back on topic. Don't you worry. I'm good at this. Let
me just talk about one thing that annoyed the shit out of me in like right off the bat in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Sure.
Where his mom is like, Peter, you got in a fight. Why did you get in a fight again, Peter? And then Chris Pratt, baby Chris Pratt, is like, one of the boys squished a frog and he didn't do nothing wrong. And it's like, oh, it's established he's like a kind soul. He cares even for like sticking up for the downtrodden. Even a frog, even a dead frog, he's willing to defend the honor of that frog. Literally 5 minutes later, when he's dancing around singing the song, he's just like kicking the shit out of all the vermin he finds and like screaming into their faces.
Yeah, that's some bad storytelling there. Like,
it's
maybe
terrible. It's like this thing that you established that he like is a deeply caring person, but you know, maybe he has issues expressing that once he is this like tough what's the pirate word? Swashbuckler.
Okay.
Cruising through space, being a cool badass, but he still has that part of him that cares about the downtrodden. All that is thrown out the window in like the first 2 minutes.
They beat up on those like rat lizards in like the second movie too.
Really?
Because they gamble with them in the first one.
In the first one, they're all over the place and they're just not doing well.
The sport.
The only things that need Guardians in the Galaxy are those rat lizards.
This is a good segue though. One of the things, and this might be my own proclivity, but when you sort of examine an animated film that's similar to a live action film, you can sort of see that the animated film was doing more complex things or being more progressive or showing a wider range of viewpoints, or being more tolerant than the live action movie. And what I wrote down was there is a lot of people as property in Guardians of the Galaxy. People as like tradable commodities. I mean, yeah, and they're bounty hunters in Guardians of the Galaxy, but there's less like slaves, like outright slavery. Whereas in Guardians of the Galaxy, I mean, essentially Rocket was kind of a slave. Gamora was a slave. Peter was kind of a slave. That pink lady that works for the Collector, slave.
Pink ladies, one of them gets killed. True. And the other one thinks it's better to kill herself in the vain hope that she can kill the Collector than keep living this life. And similar to that, there's no people of color in this movie that just exist as regular looking people.
No.
Like, there's, like, you know, like you get John C. Reilly, who's not a regular looking person to begin with, or Chris Pratt, and they just get to exist as they do and they have a cool costume. There's the like black bounty hunter at the beginning who has like a fucked up face with all the metal sticking out of it.
Yeah.
That Drax kills. There's like right at the end, there's just an extra near Nova Prime, and it's a black guy, but he's painted blue for just no discernible reason, and it's really just kind of.
But like, and there's a lot of like buying people. Like when they go to the collector wants to buy Groot.
Yeah.
Like he's like, once you die, I want you. I mean, he's at least a little better than most of them have been so far. But there's just so much of that. And Cowboy Bebop, they're capturing people, but there's not this idea that people will be put into like slavery and work. You know what I mean? That they will be they are being punished for crime, but they're not a commodity to be like used for their like peopleness.
Yeah, on the off chance they actually managed to catch a bounty.
Yes,
I was kind of struck by how infrequently that happens. I didn't remember it.
Yeah, that they were kind of bad at what they had to do.
Yeah.
Like, oh,
well, because Spike is actually kind of emo and can't help like, oh, it's a woman with a backstory. I can't.
I'm pregnant.
Her. Yeah, not really pregnant though. She's pregnant with drugs.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that people as property, and that's not something like large-scale slavery. Like, people can be in slave situations where they have to do things that they wouldn't normally do for money or to get something else, like pregnant with drugs woman. But there's not this idea of like owning a person, which is all over Guardians of the Galaxy, that you can own people, that you can take them and they can be yours.
Yeah, even Peter Quill.
Yeah.
Has that exact same. Also, I really like at the end just how they're like, we were supposed to deliver him to his dad. It's like, oh, he's a jackass anyway. It's like the whole story is just hinges on the fact that you're bad at your job. But like,
no, they actually explain all that in the second one, and it's a good explanation. It's a good like why they took him, why they didn't give him up, like what problems that has created in the whole fabric. Sylvester Stallone's in the sequel. He's kind of awesomely weird.
What the fuck is Sylvester Stallone still doing alive? Honestly.
Oh,
Sylvester Stallone looks like a poorly aged version of himself. I'm going to be up for a job. This is like my anxiety brain speaking, where I'm like, oh, I'm up for a job. And they're like, well, you did shit on Sylvester Stallone doing a podcast in 2017. I had a nightmare that I made a break that I had to direct a movie, and it was the Beyblade movie. Like, it was a Beyblade reboot. And I had to go on like press junkets to be like, yeah, it was really great adapting the rich lore of Beyblade. And I was just like sad. It was a dream where
was it a live action remake?
Yeah, like it was a live action
whitewashed remake.
Yeah, we're rebooting Beyblade for, whatever. It was like that kind of movie. And I just had to go and pretend that I was super stoked about directing Beyblade, and I wasn't. And it was just a sad dream that you kind of felt in your bones.
Oh, that is really sad. We'll segue into the final question, which you already touched upon, but I asked the other two people this, and I'm going to keep asking it because I think it's kind of an interesting question. What animated movie have you cried at, or do you use to cry? And maybe maybe I'm the weirdo that uses animated movies to cry.
I don't really use things to cry. I cry a lot of shit. I cry at Starship Troopers pretty regularly. RoboCop. Paul Verhoeven, I guess, generally is good for that. But animated, Iron Giant, or Your Name.
What part of Iron Giant? Is it the deer?
It's not the deer, and it's not Superman either, because I think Superman, where he sacrifices himself, is the part where people like really get it, but it's where the giant, like, even thinking about it, I'm getting kind of goosebumpy, because it's where he thinks that Hogarth is dead after, like, I forget what exactly happens, but he gets like flung across the snow, and
now I can't remember.
And he sees him, and he like pokes him, and he looks dead like the deer at the beginning. And that's when the giant, like, just goes berserk and starts destroying things. Like, that, like, for so long he's been able to not even bury his intended purpose. Like, his intended purpose he's pretty much forgotten about. But just that idea of feeling so desperate and seeing the only person who really cared for you just dying in front of you, bringing out this uncontrollable rage, and you really just destroying all that they have tried to convince you of, like, no, people are good and they can be your friends if they understand you. Throwing that all out the window because you're just so enraged by like just the brutality of it all. That's the part that really gets me. I kind of made a weird, not tradition, but it just kind of happened where like the night before prom or before like I think it was like prom, I watched The Iron Giant, and it happened like 3 times in a row, but it was never intentional. But then I realized, I was like, why does this keep happening?
Because it's just that kind of movie.
Yeah, you want to watch it before the best night of your life. Peaking early.
Like a giant robot sent to destroy the planet. You peak early, and then you make art the rest of your life.
Yeah, so I like that. And obviously the Iron Giant is just Groot. like I mean, both played by Vin Diesel too. Can we talk about Vin Diesel, the Cast and the Furious?
I was going to wrap this up, but we can talk about it after. Well, thank you very much. We're going to wrap this up. Remember to keep watching animated films and telling people that they're good and that they're not just for kids. And yeah, talk to you next time.